Another semester done. Big applause to everyone who's participated. I hope you had a wonderful time, and we rescued all of our pets that we have set out to rescue for the pet sanctuary, bar from one additional one, which was a later on added goal, and we didn't quite get there, but also it's maybe for the best knowing the context, and if you don't know, I'll tell you later. But I thought I will do a very quick video just to catch up, as I didn't actually film the last week or so of my reading, and I had 2 other books that I finished since then for the requirements of my career, so I thought I will just go and do like a very very abridged version, just to let you know what I've read, what I thought. Very, very, very brief kind of summary wrap up, if you will. And then of course I also have a couple of data points to let you know how we all collectively did throughout the autumn equinox of 2025. If you don't like the live streams and you don't really participate in those, the pet rescues were announced throughout the semester on the live streams, but they are also linked in the website, and Logan's drawings of the pets are now on G Drive as well. And also, if you're graduating this year, in the very last live stream we also added a certificate that you can print out or download and fill in your calling as well as your character's name to officially graduate as a master in something something. But I also just wanted to pop on and very quickly say a massive thank you for just coming back to Orilium, or starting Orilium. For all of the newcomers as well, welcome. I hope you enjoyed it, especially if this was your first semester. Remember that if you have successfully completed this semester, you automatically get 50 guild reputation points to your roster, so don't forget to assign those for yourself, because they will probably come in handy in the next semester when you want to perhaps spend some points on some scrolls to give you even more flexibility on reading. But without further ado, let me just go and quickly summarize what I read, what I thought, and then we can go into the data of the semester, which is always a very fun point. I have read... oh, they keep sliding. I have read 8 books for this semester. 4 of them were 3 stars and 4 of them were 4 stars, and honestly, not bad. I'll take it. No 5 stars, but not bad. And I needed 8 for my calling, so I didn't do any extra reading. And I also ended up swapping 2 of the ones from the TBR when if you saw my TBR video, so I didn't end up reading Divine Rivals or The 7-Year Slip, because I started this off by reading The Summer I Turned Pretty, and then because it was aligning with the show coming out still at that point of reading, I just decided to continue. So I went and smashed the entire trilogy during this readathon semester, and honestly it felt really nice because it's been a very long time since I've read a series back to back, and it was refreshing for that. The Summer I Turned Pretty, I don't think I really need to let you know what it is about, but it is about a girl who is coming of age, and she's grew up with these 2 boys of family friends, and now that they're all kind of a dating age, they start seeing each other differently, and it's just a little bit of a love triangle throughout the entire series. It's a little bit unserious overall, and it's definitely messy, it's definitely convoluted, but I had a good time, and I also really appreciated the grief tones spread out through the thing. I do still think that the show really filled in the gaps from the books, and we did get to see a little bit more on the side characters, so I do think the show is maybe perhaps better, but I enjoyed my time with these. And that being said, I also changed my rating for the first one, because I think I originally gave it a 4-star because of like the intrigue, but sitting with it, they all kind of spread out to be 3 to 3.5 stars. Next I read Death at Morning House. This was my first Maureen Johnson book, most known for the Truly Devious series, which I haven't actually tried, but I might now. I really enjoyed the writing style. It was very polarizing between the 2 timelines that we are set in the current one, and then we're also going back in time for the original family that lived in this house that this new person is now being a guide to, because it is turned into a museum, and there's multiple murders throughout both timelines which we are trying to unravel. And I really enjoyed this one. It actually held my attention very well. I also really enjoyed the narration of the audiobook, so extra points for that. Well, not really extra points, but if you are looking for it, I did enjoy the audiobook is what I'm saying. The current timeline of this also is kind of riddled with this undertone of humor throughout, and I do think that it made this much easier as well, considering obviously like the topic is somewhat serious, but it didn't feel serious at all. Honestly, it felt quite like an easy read, and I gave this one 4 stars. Like, if you are interested in the 0.5s, Some Art and Pretty, they were all 3.5s, and this one was a solid 4. Then I fully embraced autumn and I read Rewitched, which is a contemporary witchy novel, and we follow a not very self-assured modern witch who is turning 30 and she's being summoned to this magical coven society to basically set her like 30th coming of proper age in the witchy life test that she actually wasn't aware will be happening. So she is scrambling to try and pass that, and a lot of things go wrong. And it was such a heartwarming story. I really submerged myself into this one. I cannot comment on the audiobook because I was reading this physically, and I'm really glad I did. I do think that my tone control while reading this one really helped me, because in contemporary settings or like cozier settings, sometimes I find that I struggle with it a little bit when I'm listening to it, and it's to the detriment of the book. So I really enjoyed my time with Rewitched. I think that there's so many lovely interpersonal relationships, and we focus on romance to a very slim extent, and I was really happy about that, because I don't know why I assumed it's going to be very romance heavy, but it really wasn't. It was almost like a not even a secondary plot thing, it's like the fifth. We have a wonderful best friendship happening, we have some new very endearing characters join, we have talks about like reputation and injustice, and it's just also extremely cozy. And again, the humor is very millennial and it landed really well with me. What can I say? And it was also nice to read about someone who is turning 30 and he feels 30. I don't know if that makes sense, but a lot of the times I either read a book that the characters are meant to be older but doesn't really feel like it, or the characters are meant to be around 30 but they feel much older. I don't know. This one felt correct for me, so I really enjoyed my time with that, and I rated it a 4.5. And then from one banger to another, I've read Not Quite Dead Yet. This is the Holly Jackson release of the year. I always find myself really drawn towards Holly Jackson's books, especially during the readathon, because they're such unputdownable little thrillers for me. Will I remember this or think about it a lot afterwards? No. But did I read it in 2 days? Yes. Yes, I did. I genuinely spent the Sunday after the magical readathon all-nighter. Outside of like having some friends over and we were playing games and whatnot, like every single spare moment that I had, I was reading this book, and I read it into the night, as it happens often with this kind of very addictive, thrillery type of setting. And the entire premise is that our main character is attacked on Halloween, and then she wakes up in a hospital and is told that due to the head trauma she only has about a week to live, and she has a choice whether to have a surgery, which the survival rates are incredibly low, or take her chances for that week, for the time that she has. And then her coping mechanism with the fact that everything is gone the way that it's gone is that she will at least have this one thing to her name, is that she will solve her own murder. And so we embark on this journey of doing just that. And I'm not gonna say anything else, but the very end of this was such a gut punch. I wasn't actually expecting it, but it really was. The way that it was written, like the particular bit, and I'm sure if you read it you know what I mean, was something. This was our Patreon book club of September as well, and everyone kind of agreed, and it was fairly well received for the most part. So I don't know if it's better than Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is an adult one, but there's not a overwhelming amount of difference, I would say, apart from some like more cursing. Instead of school we are talking about university, and like a couple of themes of more like, you know, quarter life crisis type of situation. Outside of that, I think that read really similarly. I don't know if I might actually enjoyed this more than the Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I don't know if it's because I've read Good Girl's Guide to Murder so long ago now that it's kind of fading. And I also really liked Five Survive, and I think Rachel Price, which I read last year when it came out, is probably my least favorite, but I still really enjoyed it. So like no duds overall. I'm just always very excited when a new book by Holly Jackson comes out. It's like exactly what I need for the moment. It's like a slump curer type of book for me. Give it like a year and I will remember probably very, very little about the specifics of this book, as I do for the remaining of them. Like if you ask me to tell you what exactly happened in Five Survive, I don't know, but I do know that I sat on the sofa and I inhaled it in like one sitting. So this one was exactly that again, and it got 4 stars. And then the two that I had a more turbulent time with, Fall Back the Tide was the one that I finished after Not Quite Dead Yet, and I was really dubious about this one. I started it, I read like 20-30 pages, realized that it's a little bit like country-esque setting, didn't really vibe with it, didn't really enjoy the writing style per se, and was this close to calling it, but I'm so glad that I didn't, because once things actually started happening in this book, and that was around like page 60 or something, they really start happening when we do not stop. Like, we take a breath and we don't let it out until the very last page. I enjoyed it so much at the end. I did find that I predict the kind of big reveal situation of what the monsters are, but I didn't even care. I really enjoyed it, and I also enjoyed the end. Again, if you'll know, you know. But this is a story about a girl who lives with a father who she's afraid of. She was there when he murdered her mother, so she has this entire plan plotted to escape this town, the town that she is really not loved in, because they are all afraid of her father. They have a very bad reputation because they're very superstitious. This is very kind of secluded little town in Scotland. But before she leaves, she actually encounters this humanoid monster that looks like a walking corpse. You know what? Things just escalate from there. That is where the book got really, really good, and I ate it up. At the end, it was a 4.5 stars. Sometimes you really just need to give it like a little bit more if you're dubious. And this one worked out, and if it wouldn't have worked out, I'm sure I would have DNF'd it at like page 70. But I'm so happy that this one turned it around. I don't know what it was about the beginning, but it was really just not quite sure, but I got there. Almost a complete opposite of that was my last read, which I actually had to get a little extension scroll for. What you are looking for is in the library. The first two, I want to say there's 4 or 6. Is there a list? I don't know. 4 or 6 stories in this book. The first 2 I really enjoyed. Then it started getting repetitive, and this is my kind of like issue with these books. Like, same with When the Coffee Gets Cold, although I do think I enjoy this one a little bit more. Because they're set up in the way that they're set up, they're separate stories, but they do have a little something tying them together, especially the last one I think tied like more things together. But by that point I was a little bit checked out, I'm not gonna lie. The first 2 really enjoyed, and then gradually I just cared less and less and less and less, because I just felt like I was reading a very similar story dressed up in a different outfit. So because of that, it came out as a 3-star. The premise is that we're following a couple of people who are not particularly happy with how their life is going, and they go into this library, and unbeknownst to them, the librarian offers them something that will help them figure out their life with a very random kind of like clue, and how it leads them to it. But then the entire point is that obviously without them it wouldn't have been possible. Anyway, it's a little bit like a motivational slice of life type of short stories, and as short stories go, you normally do like some and you don't like the other ones as much. And again, I'm just kind of like, I love the idea of it, and I really like the first 2 stories. I just don't know still where I stand with this entire concept, because I have not had like a really good time with it, with the massive exception of How High We Go in the Dark. I think that's what it's called. I'm blanking, but that is one of my favorite books. So, but that one is a little bit more dark mirror and sci-fi, whereas this one is completely contemporary slice of life. But that is my reading. I would still say a very, very fantastic time. I think I had a lot of strong back-to-back reads, even though the Samaritan Pretty trilogy was not like a fantastic thing. I just had a really nice summery close, like end of a summer time with it, and I enjoyed myself. Death at the Morning House, and then Rewitched, and then Not Quite Dead Yet, all being back-to-back, gave me a new kind of rejuvenating feeling about reading in general, and I think I really was due that. Could not be happier about it. And then even though I did have like a stumble with this at the beginning, ended up pretty much reading the entire thing in one day again. So it's just kind of like the end of this. It was just a little bit of a slog, but overall I would call this big success. So now for our numbers of the readathon of the semester. To remind you, our goal was to beat last year's autumn semester, which was 7,692 pages and a little bit, and that was through 23,960 books. I will be looking down because I have to like read off a thing. Delighted to say we have absolutely smashed that record with 9,244,427 pages. And if I'm not mistaken, at least since 2022, which is when my scoreboard is from, but I know we had scores before that, but I clearly didn't know them, so we're gonna pretend that's from that. This is an all-time high. So well done. Very proud. Look at us all go. That was fantastic. And this is spanning through 28,129 books in total. This is after we have worked with Liyanna to remove all of the duplicates, so it's all legit numbers. And a massive shout out to Liyanna for constantly sending me the duplicate list throughout the semester and throughout the month, so I can chip away at it and don't have like a massive massive attack at the very end. And also a ginormous thank you to Liyanna again from Discord, who has sent all of these amazing graphs and stats for the end of semester review, because I do not have these capabilities. So I also really appreciate the help. Everyone say thank you, Liyanna. So we didn't quite reach the 10 million pages to capture a tooth bunny. If you ask me, I think that is actually for the best, but maybe in the future, if we do, Logan will grace us with the nightmare that the tooth bunny is. We shall see. So some other fun things noted here. We have read over 7,000, like near 8,000 distinct authors, over 13,500 distinct titles. If you're curious at all, the top studied subject this semester was restoration, and we had a lot of extra credit books logged as well, and then followed by spells and incantations, which is not surprising. That one appears in a lot of callings. I didn't actually realize restoration did as well, but here we go. As always, we do like to snoop to see which books this semester we read the most of, because it's always different depending on what the releases are and some particular prompts. So this time we actually had 2 book club books appear in the top 3, and the third one is, I think, because of the release time. The most read book, A Sorceress Comes to Call. The second one was The River Has Roots, and then the third book was Catabasis, and obviously this one is because of the release time. And similarly, but a little bit different from the top authors, which doesn't have to be the specific book, just anything from their repertoire. In the first place, with over 500 titles read of this author, was T. Kingfisher, which obviously makes sense, The Sorceress Comes to Call, but still. The second one was R.F. Kuang. I know Babel was also one of the book clubs, so, and then Catabasis was obviously very much read this semester as well, so that makes sense. But then the third one is actually surprising to me because it's Ali Hazelwood, and that was not in the top 3 books. If you're wondering how the split looked like for books read per guild, as always, the Order of the Crescent is the most populated guild, so it always does kind of lean their way number-wise. But then the Archivist, the Mindwalkers, and House of the Arcane are fairly even. And then it's kind of repeated in a similar manner for the pages per guild. And you can also see the split overall for the student amounts and everything here on the screen as well. And going into each guild a little bit specifically, so for the Order of the Crescent, again, the top authors were Kingfisher in the first place, Ali Hazelwood in the second, and R.F. Kuang in the third. In the top books, actually, we have a new addition here with A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, which is fun. So the top 3 people who have read the most, unlocked the most pages for Order of the Crescent are now on the screen. If your character's name is here, well done, and please award yourself 20 points. Now for the House of the Arcane, we have the author of the book club is the first place as well, then R.F. Kuang and T. Kingfisher. There's clearly a theme here overall. Actually, very similar in the top books is the book club book, the Catabasis, and Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I'm also really heartwarmed to see that the book clubs actually are being read. This is very, very fun, and I hope you had a lot of enjoyment from, you know, discussing your book club with your guild members on Discord. And similarly as well, the 3 top students of House of the Arcane, please award yourselves 20 points for an excellent performance. Now for the Mindwalkers, the first top author is the book club author, the Kingfisher, and R.F. Kuang. The top books are a little bit different. Again, the book club book is the first one, the Catabasis, of course, but then the third one is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Interesting. And here are the top 3 students from the Mindwalkers as well. Congratulations for the 20 points each. And lastly, the Archivist, R.F. Kuang in the first place, because Babel was the book club read, and Kingfisher and Hazelwood. For the top books, we actually have 2 titles by Kuang, so Babel and Catabasis, and then Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeper appears again. And here are the top 3 performers of your guild. Everyone clap. Incredibly impressive numbers. And the Archivists actually have the #1 leading student out of all of the guilds for amount of pages read. So a special shout out to Cage Asano, I want to say, who scored the first place overall with over 26,000 pages logged, over 126 books. How you did that? I don't know. My imaginary hat is off to you. Here's another little slide for you to peruse at your own if you want to, because it's always fun to see those. And a new graph that I've never actually seen before is the international corner here, which just kind of tried to distinguish if some of these titles were in a different language. We had 33 non-English languages, which is really fun. And then the first place was German with 415 entries, then followed by French, and in the third place, Dutch. I also really love this author map. If the nationality was able to be linked, I don't know how Liyanna has done this, but I'm mighty impressed. It's very, very fun to see the layout visually. And we also have some data on the genres. Obviously, not surprisingly, fantasy is in the lead with the 30%. Then I think the second one is romance, then romantasy, then we have mystery, and then followed by horror, and then a lot of smaller percentages. We primarily read novels at 74% and primarily adult with 64% as well. And then last but not least, a fun all-nighter page for you to have a little gander. We have logged almost 2,000 books during this 24-hour period and over 500,000 pages in that one particular time. That's extremely fun. All that to say, I think this is a very, very successful semester. I hope you had a lot of fun, and more importantly, please let me know, or please let us all know, if you've found a new 5-star read that you would highly recommend to others. Make the comment section kind of like a research stage for everyone to look for recommendations. Let us know what the book was, and also why specifically you want to recommend it to other people. Don't be shy to go into length at it. And also, because the semester was so successful and we have beaten the previous round's scores, I would like to gift everyone who's participated and logged their books one free scroll of closure, so that the next time you're reading for the readathon and you're not really vibing with the book, you feel very much inclined to put it aside, count it as your book, DNF it, log how many pages you read of that, and move on to some better books. But thank you so much. That's actually everything. I think until next time. Okay, bye.